Good morning, everybody. If we have any stragglers in the coffee room, please come on in. I was told to start at 9:02. Lee Savage said start at 9:02, taking directions from the directors. So there we are. I'm Bob Saxon, here to take you on this journey of knowledge that we're all going to have today. And what a fantastic agenda has been put together by IYBA for us. All kinds of cool sessions we're going to have, and a fantastic keynote speaker at the end. And again, it's all about knowledge. And I was looking at the Fort Lauderdale News, and it's an article that starts with the recession, the looming and recession, okay? So I'm reading the article, and it goes over to page 2, and it starts talking about the boating industry. Now, they throw the boating industry in an article about recession. I have no idea why. Maybe they just needed to fill up column space. But it says, another survey of boat ownership nationally shows the state leading the nation in economic activity driven by the recreational boating industry, according to the National Marine Manufacturers Association. It goes into the number of jobs, the dollar amount that's being created within the Tri-County area, and certainly statewide, but focused on the Tri-County area and all that. And it finishes with the profound impact the past few years have had on our industry, the boating and recreational boating and fishing industry, that is, have seen Americans seek out boating and fishing in record numbers. And that's good news for us, I'll tell you what. And because as we knew about the pandemic, we thought it was going to be gloom and doom, but the pandemic turned the other way up for us, and everybody was trying to find their own little private floating resort to get away from the bug. So anyway, you're here at the right spot, the right time, and to get it done. I ran into a captain friend of mine I hadn't seen in years over here. He's a rotation captain on a big yacht, and he's time off, and he's here. And I said, what are you doing here? He said, I'm just picking up stuff, news, information about this. And that's exactly why we're here. Okay, we're not just taking a day off of work or away from our clients, but we're here to talk about your toolkit that you have and your quiver. And that, you know, it's like the old vacuum cleaner guys, door-to-door salesmen used to, their toolkit was to get the housewife to open the front door, they throw dirt on the carpet, and they drag a Electrolux in and clean it up and sell them a vacuum cleaner. Well, yours is a little bit more sophisticated than that. And because Francis Bacon said, knowledge itself is power, but there was also an article in Forbes magazine that I read last month that said, knowledge is money, okay? Knowledge is money, and that's it. You've got to stay ahead of your clients. And of course, David Lee Roth, that famous old sage, said that, you've heard this before, money can't buy you happiness, but it can buy you a yacht, so you can pull right up alongside happiness and dock there, okay? So we're here to add to your sales kit, put a few more arrows in your quiver. We have the right presenters, we have the right room, we have the right people here, we have the right dynamics. It's all a perfect storm, and that's why you're here and the reason you want to be here. We have a brisk agenda. We have, I want to just mention CLE credits and CPYB credits, sign-up sheets at the reception desk outside. Make sure you get there. The bathroom's over there, but that's a very limited bathroom over there. Go find yourself another place because you're going to get blocked up in those as we go on breaks. Very brisk agenda. Our format is pretty simple. We have 3 presentations, then we go to break, thankfully. Then we have 3 more presentations, and then I'll excuse you to lunch. Then we have, after lunch, 3 sessions, a break, and then we have the state of the industry conversation, discussion, panel discussion, which would be really cool. Take a look at some of those folks that are on that. And then we have our keynote speaker with the address at the end of the day. And then we have our cocktail reception right after that. So that'll be fun as well. Each session is intended for you to think through, take good notes. But at the same time, if you have questions and answers that you would like, or questions that you would like to ask, certainly raise your hand. Paul and the staff, IYBA staff, will be getting around with a live mic. Because if you ask a question and you're not talking into a mic, nobody back there can hear what you're saying. So we pass the mic around on for that. So think of some good things to be talking or asking these folks. I want to thank our sponsors, Robert Allen Law, Yachtworld, Marsh, McLennan, Patika Wealth Management Group, UBS, Blue Haven Marina, that's an IGY facility. And without further ado, able to leap tall buildings and faster than a locomotive, more powerful than a locomotive. I want to bring Paul Flannery up here right now and give him a nice round of applause. He is our Chief Operating Officer for IYBA.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming, and thank you, Bob. The only president I've ever heard of with more terms than Franklin Delano Roosevelt. and started, I think, at about the same time.
Thanks, Dad.
You're welcome. So welcome, everybody, and thank you for coming. I think this is about our 23rd East Coast Yacht Sales Summit. The only thing we've done longer than this event has been yacht sales and the law, and that one's, I don't know, Laura, what's that one? Crowding 27, 30 years, something like that. We've been doing this stuff a long time. It's very important to me, it's very important to the association, and I think at the root of it all, it's very important to the membership in the industry that we have these events to bring you up to speed on what's going on, what's new, what's old, what's happening, what's not happening, and try to give you as much information as possible. So we're going to start out this morning with an IYBA update, what's going on at IYBA. We've got a lot of things going on at IYBA, to tell you the truth. You guys are going to have the dubious honor of me for almost a whole hour because I get to do the IYBA update and then I get to do a contract update for you as well. So a couple things to know about IYBA. We've been on the grow for the last several years. As of yesterday, we had 1,873 members. That is up from the same time last year of 1,713 members. So we're up 163 members. 160 members in the year's time. That's pretty strong growth. We're seeing something that smells like 12, 14, 15 members a month approved, and that's a net gain. We see at our board meetings on the third Thursday of every month, we see a roster of about 20, 22, 25 members in any given month. When we have events like this, we have a spike because it's cheaper to come if you're a member, right? So we get a good spike, and then there is some attrition. We lose people for one reason or another. Typically, we have started to poll people as they're leaving as to why. And more often than not, it's because they're leaving the industry. And not that we're having a big attrition rate in the industry, but our membership losses tend to be attributed to that more than any other singular reason. Unfortunately, we lose a member here and there because some of us that still have hair age out. So we lose a few people to that. The economics of the association right now. Last year, our revenue was at $1,729,000, I think, up from the year before. Let me see, the year before, we were up from $596,000. Now, that's a pretty significant change. There was one little event that didn't take place the year before, something they call the Miami International Boat Show, you may recall. And Miami International Boat Show is a very important component to our budget. It provides us close to 50%. Actually, that contribution has been going up the last couple of years. It provides us a significant portion of our income. Our expenses last year were about 1.5, so we were ahead. Draw a circle around $200,000. The year before that, our expenses were, I think, at 1.1. Yeah, 1.2. So we were well behind last year, the year before, but again, that's due to no income from the Miami International Boat Show. So financially, the association is strong. We have some money in the treasury. There's an ongoing discussion about that. We got a lot of money, but the good news is we have that money to weather a storm, i.e. no Miami International Boat Show a couple of years ago, and we were able to continue to provide services and grow the association because your board has been good stewards of the treasury for many, many years. Miami Show, as I said, has been a very important component to that, but one of the things that we've been doing as a board ever since I joined back in 2009 has been to find other ways to assure our viability as an association and continue to provide services to the membership and to the industry. So there are some products that we're in the process of releasing, developing. We've got one that you're all very familiar with, yachtbroker.org. We've had that out for a couple of years now. I think at last count I looked, we had about 8,400 boats on yachtbroker.org. And yachtbroker.org is the only industry-owned multiple listing system. It's your data. And our philosophy is that if you control your data, then you control your destiny. So we've built a platform. This was done with fits and starts in years past. There was a product that several of the associations got together on in around 2000, decided that we as an industry needed to control that destiny. So let's build a platform. Back in those days, the buck system was a big thing. Yachtworld was coming on strong, and the associations felt like it was important to have our own database. So we contracted to do something like that. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out as well as we had hoped it would. It spun off to become another private enterprise, and the desire remained amongst the leadership at IYBA to have something like that. Back then it was FYBA. But the long story short is we invested pretty significantly and have built a very elegant MLS system, yachtbroker.org. It's accessible to any member of any professional association. Initially, it was built to be an IYBA product. And, an association is a business just like anything else is. We're a non-for-profit, so they get to spend a lot of money on me, and that keeps our profits down. I only wish that were true. But the fact of the matter is, it's a business. And like anything else, you have to have income if you're going to meet your expenses. Not-for-profit simply means that you don't have tax liabilities. That's really the gist of it. So what we did is we built a product that is very robust. It's a very elegant product. It provides a great service to the membership. And as I said, initially we built it to be an IYBA product. But then we recognized that other associations have a lot of members and a lot of boats that they represent, and they're not going to want to put things into a platform that's owned and controlled by one association, and they look at that as a membership grab. So they're not going to put their boats in there. So we made a command decision to offer our platforms to any member of any association. And the reality of it is that's a better way to provide service to an industry, and that is to take your resources, build products that can uplift your industry as a whole. So is it good for our membership? Yeah, it's good for our membership. Our membership, while an important component of who we are and how we raise money and what we do, is not the entirety of it. The way I look at it is that we as an association have a unique ability to affect positive change in the marine industry, in the yacht sales industry, and the yacht charter industry. And there's no other association on the planet. We are the biggest with 1,873 members. There's nobody that comes close to us in our sector. MIBA has 450-something members. YABA has 1,100 members. California Yacht Brokers has 232 members. The other associations pale in comparison to IYBA. And I think it's really important, and our board thinks it's very important, that we build and offer services to the industry to uplift our ability to operate professionally. So yachtbroker.org is a great product for that. On the heels of yachtbroker.org came our next product, and that was the International Yacht Arbitration Council. So what's the purpose of the International Yacht Arbitration Council? IYAC, I'm going to talk about a little bit more here as the day goes on. I've got a few other, I've got another segment that I want to talk to you about after I'm done with this, but IYAC falls into that and plays into that very strongly. IYAC is the only industry-owned dispute resolution platform specifically designed to solve disputes or resolve disputes in the yachting industry. So if there's any kind of a dispute anywhere in our industry, you have the ability to bring it to IYAC. There are 30 certified arbitrators around the world that have been trained in dispute resolution. Joe Stanley is one of them that's here in the room right now. Bob Saxon, Jeff Stanley. We got 2 Stanleys. How do you like that? 30 people, we got 2 Stanleys. Who else here in the room? I think Andrew Silla, are you a certified arbitrator with IYAC? Yes, Andrew is. We have several ex-presidents of IYBA, formerly FYBA. We have some of the most notable maritime attorneys in the world, Bob Allen, Rob Moss, Michael Moore, Jay Tooker, Tony Allen, Gianfranco Pupolo, Quentin Bargate, Mike Karcher. Mike Karcher is the guy who really built the whole thing out for us. Mike has been the leader of the Miami Maritime Arbitration Association for many, many years and recognized that there wasn't a whole lot of yacht business that was going on there. That was primarily Port of Miami, passengers, cargo, things like that. And there needed to be a platform for the yacht industry. So he helped us to develop it. The rules of IYAC are virtually the same as the rules of the American Arbitration Association, London Maritime Arbitration Association, the Society of Maritime Arbitrators. There's a set of rules that's legally recognized and accepted in the courts and under law that give you the ability to solve disputes. We didn't reinvent the wheel. What we did is we adopted rules and trained people that have knowledge of our industry how to solve those disputes. So we've got Michael Brayman from Lursen, Inigo Toledo is a naval architect from Madrid. We have surveyors, insurance specialists. We have people from all facets of the yachting industry that are certified IYAC arbitrators. So you now have a product, a platform available to any member of any association. In fact, you don't have to be a member of an association. You have a platform to solve disputes specifically in the yachting industry. Shipyard contracts, sales agreements, charter agreements, whatever the case may be. So that was the second platform that we built out on the heels of yachtbroker.org. The next thing we felt it was important to do was to bring forward the ability for the industry to yet again control their data and control their destiny, and that is through an electronic document processing system. You're going to learn more today about a product that I'm really proud we've been able to bring forward, and that's called Boat Docs. Get the wrinkles out of your deal. No. Boat Docs is, again, the only industry-owned document processing system that allows you to process all the documentation necessary to effect a deal from listing to closing. So you enter your listing agreement in Boat Docs, much like other products that you used before that allow you to process all of your documents. You put in the information. It's a pretty elegant program. I'd say it's a very elegant program. Mike Mullinger from Pier 1 Yacht Sales is going to get up here in a little while and explain to us the nuances and the differences between it and anything else that's available to you in the industry. But the long and the short of it is it's a document processing system and a business management tool. So you're going to find that that's a really great system. It is fully vetted. It is out there. It is working. We have people using it. A lot of yacht sales has been engaged with it over the course of the last couple of weeks, getting the feel for it. I know Mike's company jumped right on board with it. We have UBA members, Brewer Yacht Sales, based up in Connecticut. They're all over the program. They're really enjoying it. So it's a product that we built from the treasury of IYBA as a service to our members, but available to the industry at large. And that's another way that we're taking a leadership role in the yacht sales industry, is to bring quality products like that forward to the industry. Let's see. Another thing that we've done is, kind of ties into our legislative agenda. So IYBA, all right, the state of Florida, as you all know, is one of the only 3 states, not 2 states, but 3 states that require licensing for yacht brokers. Florida requires it, California requires it. Who knows what other state requires licensing? It's Virginia, believe it or not. And it's a dealer license. There's no enforcement. I think it's around $12 to become a licensed broker in Virginia. It's the only one that's got a lower standard than we do. But here you need $500 and a pulse. At least you got to have that going for you. But in the state of Florida, Chapter 326, the Yacht and Shipbrokers Act demands that if you act as a broker in the state of Florida in expectation of a compensation, you must be duly licensed under Chapter 326, the Yacht and Shipbrokers Act. It's on vessels from 32 feet to 300 gross tons, which seemed like a bit of a peculiar way to measure things. But it's because U.S. flagging for recreation was available only up to 300 gross tons, and that's, I guess, why they use that as an upper limit. You also have to remember that in 1987, a 300 gross ton vessel recreationally was like, those must be the Rockefellers, you know. That's got to be, one of the robber barons that owns a boat like that. Today, I bet you 75% of the yacht brokerage audience here has sold a boat that's 300 gross tons. So it's a very different scale that we measure by. By the way, how many brokers do we have here in the room? Sales brokers. Raise them high. So we got about 45. How many charter folks do we have in the room? Managers or brokers? All right, good. We got some charter brokers at the East Coast Yacht Sales Summit. I like it. So we're getting more participation across the board. So Chapter 326, the Yacht and Shipbrokers Act, has been in effect since 1987. Coincidentally, the Florida Yacht Brokers Association has been an association or an organization since 1987. That all came from Pete Woods and Jerry Hellrung, Jerry Hellrung had been a broker in California, and if my details or information here is wrong, I'm happily corrected. So anybody who knows differently or better, but if I'm not mistaken, Jerry Hellrung had been a licensed broker in California. They had licensing before Florida did. Florida had licensing, and in our state, there's something called the sundown law. If you have a statute, it goes into effect, it's there for 10 years, and if they don't renew the statute, if they don't object to the statute, whatever happens, it sundowns in 10 years. So the Florida yacht broker licensing actually went into effect. Jeff, when was that thing that you gave me from 1976 or something like that? So in the 70s, there was licensing, and the law sundowned, and they brought it back in 1987 to what we know as now Chapter 326, the Yacht and Shipbrokers Act. And Jerry called Pete and said, Pete, with licensing here in the state the way they're doing it under this new law, we better have some representation for the yacht brokerage community with our legislators. And that was the birth of the Florida Yacht Brokers Association. Pete was our first president. We've had many notables as president since then, including myself. Obviously some much more notable. And Chapter 326 is, in my view, an antiquated law. From 32 feet to 300 gross tons. In 1987, that made a lot of sense. Today, there are a lot of $1 million 32-foot boats out there, 31-foot boats out there. There are an awful lot of boats that are transacted. In fact, Super Yacht Times will tell you that there are 5,800 and something or other, almost 6,000 vessels in the fleet above 30 meters. And 30 meters is in that neighborhood of 300 gross tons, depending upon how it's made, how it's built, how it's shaped. 165 feet being 500 tons. So there's a lot of there are a lot of boats out there over 100 feet, 120 feet in that range. So things have changed pretty significantly. A couple of years ago, your board chose to engage with a lobbyist. Ellen Bogdanoff was the lady who was a senator representing this area, who championed the cause of the sales tax cap, putting an $18,000 maximum sales tax on vessel transactions in the state of Florida. Ellen retired out of the legislature, went to work for Becker Law as a lobbyist. I talked with Ellen about the idea of making changes to Chapter 326. We engaged with Chip LaMarca, who's our local congressman, represents this district. He chose to sponsor a bill that allowed us to change some significant or pertinent elements to the law. Let's get rid of the upper limit on it, and let's say that if a vessel is intended for recreational use, to sell that boat, you must be a licensed broker from 32 feet and up. And then I wanted to do a study to see if maybe 30 feet was the right place to start with that, or maybe 28 feet was the right place to start with that, because it's all about enhancing consumer protection and raising the level of professionalism in our industry. It's the best thing we can do. Other ways that we could do that would be to require, like the real estate industry does, training, testing, and continuing education units. So that was a component of our bill. Another broker, a guy who makes a living, or a woman who makes a living in Annapolis that isn't a licensed broker in the state of Florida, but has a client that wants to sell a 56-foot Viking that HMY has listed that's sitting here in Fort Lauderdale, can't legally come to this state and transact that business. So because of Chapter 326, unless they're licensed here. So what that does is it discriminates against that person from being able to do business here. Does it protect Florida yacht brokers? To a degree, yes. But I would also submit to you that it discriminates against being able to do business here. And our state's political philosophy is one of deregulation. The purpose of the deregulation is that they want to attract other businesses from other states to come here because of our favorable tax laws, and it's better for the economy of the state of Florida. So if foreign brokers can't, we call them foreign brokers if you're outside the state of Florida, if a foreign broker can't come here, it's not a good thing. But you don't want to just let anybody come running in here willy-nilly and sell all of our boats, right? Because then you don't have any structure, you don't have any guidance, you don't have any protection for consumers. But if you created a scenario in which people that aren't licensed in the state of Florida could come to the state of Florida and transact business, as long as they did so, then the entirety of the deal was transacted with a Florida licensed broker, then that's a win. So that was a piece of the legislation as well. Another piece of it is, y'all know that if you have your $500 and they check and you actually do have a pulse, you can get a 90-day, you can get a license. You have a 90-day grace period while they check you out at the state of Florida, which basically means if you have $500 in a pulse, you got 90 days to steal as much money as you want before they tell you, oh, wait a minute, you're a bad guy. Get out of here, Bernie Madoff. We don't want you having a license. That's not a very logical way to do things. There's no other industry anywhere that says, hey, come on in, knock yourself out, compete as hard as you want while we figure out if you're okay. So that we asked that they remove, and we also asked that they change the wording in the law that says the department may deny a license to people that fall under these, disreputable felons, blah, 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 descriptions. We asked that they change that to say, shall deny a license to them. Our legislators pushed back on that a little bit because one of them didn't want to be the arbiter of people's morality. So these are the things that you deal with when you talk with politicians about trying to get things done. So how did we do all this? 2 years ago, we engaged with Ellen for the legislative session. Chip sponsored us here in the House. Ed Hooper from the West Coast was our senator that sponsored it. We got both bills on the floor, and we got to committee in the House. The process is that they let it go through the House committees. The House ratifies it. They go to the Senate. The Senate ratified it. Goes to the governor for signature. In a perfect world. In our not so perfect world, we got to committee in the House, and then we got booted because Governor DeSantis's philosophy is one of deregulation in the state of Florida, and staff members who advised their legislators interpreted this as regulation, contrary to the governor's agenda. Okay, we're not going to get anywhere with it. So we got the axe. I was pretty dejected about that. I happen to have a friend from my days up in Jacksonville who is a lobbyist. He lobbies for the medical industry. And I called him up. I've known the guy since I was a kid. I called him up and said, oh man, I'm really bummed out about this. We spent all this money. We spent all this time. We hired this, Top Gun lobbyist. We didn't get anywhere with this thing. And he said to me, so this is your first year, right? And I said, yeah. And he said, so you got a bill in the House and you got a bill in the Senate and you got to committee and you're disappointed. And I said, yeah, well, I wanted to get this thing done. He said, Paul, there's no process where you get a law changed that doesn't take 3, 4, 5 years. It takes a long time to get this stuff done because you're trying to change the status quo and you're going up against tort reform, insurance, school lunches. You're going up against things that have eaten up all the oxygen in the room for these politicians, and you want them to protect those poor guys on yachts. Think about how much sympathy you're going to get on that, right? So he gave me a little perspective. I came back to the board and reported to them that I was quite disappointed, but that the outside advisor had said, stay the course and you'll get this done if it's good stuff and it's logical. So we stayed the course. This year, we resubmitted the bills. Chip and Ed were our sponsors once again. Mr. LaMarca and Mr. Hooper were our sponsors once again. I met with the Speaker of the House, Paul Renner. I went and met with the chairman of the Commerce Committee, Andy Miles, and Trevor Carroll joined me in this effort and gave a lot of time and effort, and thanks very much to them. This is a volunteer position on the board to do these things, and those guys did a yeoman's job of trying to get this thing pushed across the finish line. So Trevor and Andy and I went and talked with Bob Rommel. Robert Rommel is the congressman from Naples who is the chairman of the Commerce Committee. Last year, he was the chairman of the Regulatory Committee, which is under Commerce, and that's where we got the boot. So you go right to the source of your problem, right? We went to Rommel, who's now chair of Commerce, which is above Regulatory, and helped him understand that we're not just trying to protect a bunch of poor guys with big yachts, that this is business. This is a business that has an economic impact in the state of Florida of $31.3 billion annually. That creates and supports 109,000 jobs in 7,138 independent and different companies in our state. So the economic impact in the state of Florida is quite significant. When I was sitting with the Speaker of the House and Chip LaMarca and our lobbyist, the Speaker of the House said to me, I said to him, we are the second largest economic impact in the state of Florida behind tourism. And he said, there's no way that that's true. What about agriculture? So Chip looked up agriculture while we were talking. Agriculture was $8 billion. We were and that point, our study had indicated that we were at 23 point something billion dollars. The new study that I just quoted to you came from the NMMA last month at the ABC. ABC is the American Boating Congress. It's where we go in Washington and lobby our federal legislators to affect positive change in the recreational boating industry. Which, by the way, recreational boating, can anybody give me a rough idea of the economic impact of recreational boating in America? Anybody have any sense of it? Does anybody have any sense of what the United States GDP is in 2023? I know Ed Bragg knows that. So the GDP in the United States of America is $26.43 trillion. That's a lot of zeros, right? Outdoor recreation is roughly 2.2% of GDP, and recreational boating comes in at $230 billion annually, which is about 0.8% of the gross domestic product of the United States. That's recreational boating. Our little business represents almost 1% of the entire economic output of the United States of America on an annual basis. That's pretty significant. And when we go to our legislators and we talk to them about the real deal, the jobs that we create, the economic impact, the shoes that people are able to put on their kids because they're in the boating business, the fancy yellow pants that people can buy that own yacht brokerage companies like Bob Dennison, that's what's important. And Bob, I want you guys to know, just flew in here from Italy for this. He says he came home to take his son to the Heat game last night, but the truth of the matter is, why'd you come back, Bob? For the East Coast Yacht Sales Summit. How about it? So the reality of it is, the boating and yachting industry has a significant economic impact. And that's why we want to affect these positive changes, because we want to be held to account as professionals in an industry. There isn't anybody in this room that wants to roll around on their belly and crawl like a reptile. They want to act professionally. They want to do things the right way. They want to act as a professional. And at the end of the day, we want to protect consumers, because guess what? When we're not out there selling something, what are we doing with the money we earned? We're consuming. We want to be protected as well. And it's only right and it's only fair, because that's the way the society works properly. So trying to enhance consumer protection is the genesis of why we wanted to update Chapter 326. Where did we wind up this year? Bill in the House, bill in the Senate, got through regulatory, got to commerce, and hit the blocks again. So what happened was, we got to the Commerce Committee. We got through, the Senate committee is called Regulated Industries. We got through Regulated Industries, but the Senate said back to the House, get through your stuff, and then we can sign it in, and we can move it up to the governor's office for a signature. We got to Commerce in the House, and they didn't like the language. Bob Rommel again. They didn't like the language. Staff said, no, you know what? This is really regulation. We gotta look at this. So what we did is we took the language from the bill and we tried to roll it into what was called the department bill. The Department of Business and Professional Regulation is who regulates us. Last year at this event, we had Secretary Melanie Griffin, the Secretary of the DBPR, along with Chastain, the young lady who's the director of the division. I can't think of her name off the top of my head, I apologize. But we had them here on the stage to talk to us about DBPR and what they do and what's up with that. They have a bill that goes in front of the Congress every year about things in their department. We tried to roll the language into the department bill. Unfortunately, we weren't successful. So in the latter part of this month, June 22nd and 23rd, your board is going to sequester for a couple of days, and we're going to do our planning session for this year. What we've done in years past is we've had a half day or a day at the yacht club, and we've looked at what we're doing and looked at where we're going and tried to organize our thoughts for the year. And this year we've chosen to kind of reward the board a little bit for all their hard work and bring them someplace, and also take them out of the fray and ask them to put their phones in a basket and focus their attention on what we're doing for a couple days. So we're going to have 2 days of guided meetings where we're going to talk about what we do as an association, what we do to provide more and better services for our members. And one of the things on that agenda will be our legislative agenda. We'll assess where we are and we'll determine where we're going. That's going to be up to the 11 people that you guys have voted to be your board members and representatives for IYBA. I think it's a noble cause. I think it's a worthy cause. I like to see results. I'm a results-oriented person, and it's very frustrating to me to put forth the effort and spend the money that we do to go up to Tallahassee and get kicked to the curb or, scraped off a shoe somewhere. So we got to stay the course is what they tell us. We want to get this done. It's not something that's easy, but you just got to keep plugging at it. Maybe Mr. DeSantis will become president. We'll have another governor. We'll have less of a pushback, and maybe we'll get it done. Who knows? I can't predict the future. That guy who's coming at 4 o'clock this afternoon, he predicts the future. Let's see. So what's next on IYBA? I'll wrap up the IYBA update by just telling you that we're proud and happy to present products like this seminar. I think we do it 7 times a year, 6 or 7 times a year. We do Yacht Engineering Week. Speaking of Yacht Engineering Week, Lee asked me to mention out to the audience that we're always looking for new ideas for Yacht Engineering Week. It's a pre-recorded program that we do for an entire week in the spring. Caterpillar's been a great supporter of this, along with many, many other companies. We try to bring forward to the brokerage community the ability to learn about the different products that are part and parcel of their boats, that you guys don't have time to go and talk to the folks up in the tents during the boat shows. You're on the dock, you're busy selling boats, you're engaging with customers, and you don't have time to go talk to quantum stabilizers or Northern Lights generators or the paint guys or the canvas guys or the whomever. So what we try to do is to bring you a program and educate you about those products. If you have ideas on things you'd like to learn, if you have interesting companies, Sherrod Propeller is a company that I was made aware of. They do, Ken, are you using Sherrod propellers at all? No? It's a completely different propeller system. So you guys know it's standard 3-blade, 4-blade, 5-blade, 8-blade, whatever the hell propellers are out there. And then you've got the dual props where they both turn in different directions. Well, this propeller has 2 different pitches and it's actually a loop. So it's like 3 loops. It's very peculiar. I happened to be on a boat in St. Thomas last year where they had them, and the wake is super clean and it's extremely efficient, and it's a whole new idea. So these are the kinds of things that we try to bring forward. If you think of these things, please let us know at the office. You can do me, Paul at IYBA.org, Sydney at IYBA.org, Wendy at IYBA.org. Speaking of Wendy, and in the back of the room, both of you, please raise your hands. Our newest addition to the team is Jen Calvert. Some of you may know Jen, right there in pink. Jen was with IYC in the past. She has joined our team and will start full-time on Monday. Wendy Dobson is the lady who really keeps us moving forward, along with Sydney Coulter. Is Sydney in the room, or she's outside? And of course, you all know Rayout. Rayout is the Director of Member Services, R-A-U-T. That's why your email doesn't come back to you, because you misspelled it. Rayout is the Director of Member Services, and these 4 ladies are the backbone of our association. Kevin Dobson is our controller. Kevin takes care of the checks and balances. He wears a little armband and a green visor and never looks up. He works back in a dark corner, but he makes sure the board knows how much money we have or how much money we've spent. Garrett Schwartz is Mr. Wizard. He's the guy behind the curtain. He's the guy that keeps all of our technology flowing seamlessly and smoothly, including staying up all night to do transitions on AWS servers and updates. And where he gets his energy, I don't know, but I should buy stock in Red Bull, I think. So that's the staff, and these are the people that make IYBA work. And thank you from all of us to all of you for the incredible work that you guys do in keeping us going. Boat shows, I mentioned to you, Miami International Boat Show is an important component. We are co-owners of that show with Informa Events and with the National Marine Manufacturers Association. So as you guys know, that's all been conglomerated into one big product. This last year, we brought forward 2 different shows, charter shows. We did the Caribbean Charter Yacht Show at St. Thomas, and we did the Bahamas Charter Yacht Show. Is Peter here? Has Peter shown up yet? Peter Morey from Nassau is the president of the Association of Bahamas Marinas, and Joe Dargavage was extremely helpful in this process. And then under Peter's tutelage, we were able to bring this show to light in February. So now we have 2 charter shows that IYBA is co-owners of, one taking place in St. Thomas at the end of November, beginning of December, and one taking place in Nassau. This year will be, I think, the 3rd week of January. 2 great products, great opportunity for sales brokers to go and see boats without distractions or otherwise, learn what's out there and what may very well be for sale, and usually get some really good lunches or cocktails or canapes in the process. That's all I have on the IYBA update. We're a busy place. I am incredibly proud. I'm amazingly happy to have the honor of being the Chief Operating Officer of this association. I like doing it. I come every day. I don't mind getting up early, and I don't mind staying late. I have the pleasure of traveling to Europe and waving our flag. We've gotten great engagement over there this last couple of years. I think we have about 225 or 235 members in Europe now. I don't think we have any in Denmark except when I'm there. We've got them in the Netherlands, Germany, France, England, Spain, Italy, Greece, Croatia, Montenegro. Where else? We got a lot of folks from Malta that have started to get engaged with IYBA, including law firms there that have been sponsoring our events. We did a 2-day new build and refit, and then Yacht Sales Charter and the Law Summit at the Monaco Yacht Club last month. We had a full room both days, was really well received. The panelists, the presenters, everything was done very, very well. I was super happy and super proud of the results of that one, and we will continue to do that. We did that in concert with MYBA. The first time ever we've linked arms with the Mediterranean Yacht Brokers Association, or actually, they don't call themselves that anymore. They call themselves MYBA, the Global Yachting Club, Consortium, Lunch Club. I don't know what they are. Anyway, MYBA is a powerful and important organization, and IYBA and MYBA were able to link arms and bring this product forward. Your Yacht Sales and the Law seminar that many of you were here for in December, and you will be here hopefully again this December, we did in concert with YABA, the Yacht Brokers Association of America. So one of our goals has been to link arms with the other associations and raise the tide in the yachting industry. So I want to move over to another conversation, and that is about contracts. And I went a little long on IYBA, so I'll run through contracts for us.